My Instagram account sucks, and basically today I just want to see if I can build an Instagram scraper inside of N8N to spy on my competitors, figure out what's working for them, and then kind of use AI to generate some new ideas for me and for my channel. So here's how I thought we'd kind of approach this today. I think one, we're obviously going to get the channels that we want to scrape, kind of figure out who my competitors are. Then we're going to use a website called Apify, which basically has a whole bunch of scrapers for Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. You can kind of scrape anything with this. I'll also show you kind of a cool way to set up your credentials in N8N so that basically you can use them without having to come back and get your API key and all that. I'll walk you through all that step by step. The next thing I want to do is just kind of set up the profile scraper inside of N8N and kind of see which data we're able to extract. I don't know if we're going to get just like titles, descriptions, probably some engagement metrics like likes and shares and things like that. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get any like thumbnail data, so we'll take a look at that as we go. Then from there, I'm going to show you how you can use ChatGPT to help you like create your prompts for your AI agent. So basically, we're going to have ChatGPT create a prompt for us to help us generate new ideas because we want to take what's working for other people and say, okay, like here's a little bit about me. How can I apply what this other person is doing like to my own content? And so we're not kind of like stealing their ideas. We're just using it to kind of like create new ideas that are relevant to us. And then from there, we're going to actually just build the idea generator. We're going to add that little module into N8N so we can basically, get new ideas for us. And then once we have that set up, we're going to test end to end. I guess one thing I didn't put in here, somewhere along the way, I'll put this down here. I'll say we're also going to build, and I'll just put DB for database. We'll build the database along the way. So I'm going to be using Airtable to build this database. I think we'll do it a couple different ways. We'll probably have a sheet for all the channels so that as we want to grow and scale the system, we can keep adding in new competitors over time and get new results, which seems pretty cool. And then we obviously need a place to store all the information, from the reels that we scrape. I think we're going to use Instagram Reels today and all our new ideas. So cool. This is great. So I think probably the first thing that we'll do is kind of get these channels and start storing them inside the database kind of next to each other one-to-one. So let's hop into Airtable. That's the first place we're going to start. We'll hop into Instagram. We'll grab some of my competitors. We'll probably just start with a few examples today because the system is super scalable and we'll go from there. Cool. If you want to get access to the workflow that we're building today and any of my other resources, hop into the build room where I teach entrepreneurs how to go from $0 to $5,000 a month using AI and automation. You get access to step-by-step tutorials, and some of my members are even selling these systems to their clients for $5,000 a piece. I'll leave a link in the description where you can check it out. So I'm inside of Airtable right here. I'm just going to go ahead and click create, and I'm going to do start from scratch. And we're just going to have a new base here to start from scratch. So I'm just going to show you everything we do today step by step so you can follow along. Great. I'm just going to call this Instagram scraper. Cool. And this first table, I'm just going to call this why don't I call this competitors, right? So this is where we'll basically just store their channel names. So I think we can basically just have like this first column as the name. I don't think we need really anything else. This is just going to be a place for us to simply store all the names of our competitors. And so that's really, really easy. I'm just going to delete all these extra fields because I don't think we need them. Cool. So I just brought up just a couple little channels myself here. Like I said, my Instagram account sucks. I have 200 followers. Great. No problem. We have Nick, who's awesome. Is 213,000. And then Chase, who I think is great. He does some content on AI agents and things like that. So I'm just going to kind of look at their accounts and then just kind of see what there is to see from there. So I'm just going to quickly store all of these records. I think it's always really good practice to store your own records along with all of your competitors, just so you can kind of see, where your content is versus their content, kind of keep track of your own engagement metrics, see how your channel grows over time. I just think it's really helpful to kind of scrape yourself alongside everyone else. And so I'm just going to copy everyone's little handle from up here, in the URL up here. And I'm just going to paste this in because I was testing a little bit earlier and I know this is how the Apify scraper is going to want to work. I'm pretty sure. So cool. I'm just going to copy these and we're all set here. This is like pretty simple. So again, what's really cool about this is that like you can kind of just like add to this list over time. And anytime you've come across someone new, like, you can just add them to your table and you can begin to scrape them. And so this is a great way to kind of spy on your competitors without having to constantly be, scrolling through your feed and figuring out what's going on. Cool. So I am inside of N8N. This is just a brand new workflow. And I just kind of titled it Instagram Scraper. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add a manual trigger here so we can kind of get started with the build. And the next thing I know I'm going to want to add is an HTTP request because this is how we call the scraper. So we'll give this for now. We'll be back here in like 2 seconds. So there's a website called Apify, which is a great website. I'll leave a link in the description where you can sign up. And if we go basically to the Apify store, you can see they have all sorts of scrapers for LinkedIn. They have Apollo for leads. They have website crawlers. There's Instagram, Facebook. Like you can pretty much scrape any website, using this, X, YouTube, whatever. And the scraper that I want to use today is called the Instagram scraper. And you can literally just come and type Instagram. And it's this first one, the Instagram scraper. It's $1.50 for 1,000 results. So, you can scrape a lot of content for pretty cheap here. And what's cool about Apify is if you look down the bottom, they give you $5 free every single month. And so you basically would have to scrape 3,000 results to even start getting close to that. So this is a pretty good place to start. And so if you want, you can go ahead and basically all you do here is you put in the URL of the profile that you want to scrape. So if I want to scrape myself, I would just kind of come in here and I would go ahead and I would paste this in. And then you go ahead and click save and start. And I'll just go ahead and I can do this right now. I'll just put 3 for now and I'll do save and start. And we can just kind of see what a run looks like. This is kind of going to scrape my profile. Right now, this is getting posts. I think in the end, I'm actually going to want to get real. So I'll probably go back and change that in a second. But I just kind of wanted you to get a sense of how the data works and how it comes in. It takes a little bit of time to run. But then at the end of the day, we can kind of get a sense of what information we're going to get out of the scraper. Okay, cool. So this took 39 seconds to run. It only pulled in 3 results for me. That's all I set it to. And basically you can see kind of what data we have. We have the captions for the post. We have the dimensions. We actually have the display image, any of the comments, maybe hashtags that are used, if there are hashtags, the URL, and things like that. So this is kind of all the information that we might want to grab. The duration of the video might be helpful. So you can kind of see the length of posts that are working in your niche. Like you don't want to be making 3-minute videos if other people are making 30-second videos. You can see the play count, the URL for the video, and I think that's it. So cool. Okay, so that's great. So just to give you an idea of the type of data that we can get from this. So this is how you can run this within the platform. But what we actually want to do is we want to be able to trigger this through N8N. And so there's basically a couple main things that we need. First, we basically need the actor ID, which is up here, up top. And we're going to need this JSON right here. And so I know this might look confusing. Don't worry too much about it. The most important thing really is kind of like the URLs here and then the limits of results. So not such a big deal. And this result type post. Because if I come back into manual here, you can see what do you want to scrape from each page? This is post. And if I just change this, I can actually do scrape profile reels. And if I come over to the JSON, you can see the results type has changed from post to stories. And so we're going to want this too. Apify does have some really great documentation. I know this looks confusing. Honestly, this is kind of confusing. Literally, if you come into the API documentation, this run actor synchronously with input and get data set items, this is the only API request I ever make inside of Apify. This basically lets you scrape everything that you need to scrape and actually return all the results in like a single pass. So that's all you need to know is you need this. And over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, what's known as a curl request. Basically, Apify has already formatted your HTTP request for you. So literally, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to come back in here. And if I go ahead and click import curl and I just paste this in and I can go ahead and click import. And now you can see basically this is the request. This is set up for us. We actually don't need to know anything else about this. There are a couple other things that I want to show you here because I think they're really, really important. One is going to be in this URL. If I just open this up a little bit bigger, you can see here's the actor ID that I was talking about that we need. So I'm just going to come back over to the scraper and I'm going to grab the actor ID up here in the URL. Just go ahead and grab this and come in here. And I'm literally just going to replace this here. Make sure you don't have any extra slashes or anything like that. And you're grabbing the full actor ID. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to do is I want to show you how to set up your own credential. So you basically don't have to keep coming into Apify and every time you use this and kind of pasting in your API key here. So in order to get your API key, you're going to come over to Apify here and you're going to come into settings. And I'm just going to open this in a new window really quick. And if you come into settings for your account, you just come into API and integrations and here's your personal API key. So what you could do is you could copy this here and you can just come in and where it says token, you would just highlight this and you would just paste in your API key and you'd be good to go for this one request. But every time you wanted to set this up, like in a different scenario somewhere else, you would have to do this again. So let me just show you really quick how to set up your credentials so you just don't have to do this again. So I'm just going to go ahead and come back to the workspace here. Just kind of looking at my own personal workspace. And so basically the way you set up a credential here is you just come up to the top here and you can go to create credential. And what I'm going to do is if we scroll down or you can just type it in is what we're doing here is we're actually doing a header off. And I'm going to go ahead and click continue here. And this name and value is really important. So if you look and we come back into the actual request, if we're doing this for Apify, the name here is authorization and the value is bearer space and then your API key, and bearer with a capital B. This is all really important. And so here you're going to have to name this all the same. So you're going to name the name authorization with a capital A, and then the value, you can't see it, but I'm typing bearer space and then I'm pasting in my API key. And then I can literally just come up here and change the name of this so I remember it. And I could say Apify, June 16th or whatever. And now I'm going to go ahead and click save. So this says credential has successfully been created. I can come out of this. I can close this window down. Great. I'll just save this workflow really quickly. I think I might actually need to refresh the page really quick. So I can come in here and I have header auth, right? Or I have generic credential type. I have header auth here. And if I come in here, now you can see I have Apify June 16th. So this is a great way to store your API keys for further use. This is also great in my case if I'm creating content and I don't want to expose my API key, or in the same way if I'm working with clients and I want to hand something off to a client. Same way here, I can make sure we set up credentials for them separately than myself. And this way, it keeps it separate. They don't have access to my API keys. I don't have access to theirs, and everybody is safe and good to go. Cool. So the last part of this really is this body content down here. And so the other part of the scraper that's important, I said, is this JSON right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to copy this entire JSON, and I'm going to come back in and I'm going to change the specific body from using fields to using JSON. I can just go ahead and I can directly paste this in here. And now we're essentially mimicking that same request that we did manually before. There are still a couple fields that you can change. You can change the URL. You can change, the results type, and you can change the number of results that you're scraping. So I just went with 3 again. And if I go ahead and I click execute step, now we should wait to see that we should get some more results. And if I come back into the scraper itself and I go into runs, you can see that we've actually started the crawler here and it's beginning to scrape the data from my profile. And you can see this took about 18 seconds. And if I pop back into N8N, you can see we actually have all our results. We have the input URL, we have the video, we have the caption, we have all the hashtags. And he mentions we even have comments, like if we wanted to grab some information from the comments and see what people are talking about, the video play count, the like count. Obviously, this is my channel. This is low, which is why we're doing all of this, right? Cool. So this is a great start. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'll rename this Scrape Profiles. And I'll go ahead and click save. And if we come back in here, basically we've done these first couple things. So now, okay, so we've gotten the channels and we set up the Apify scraper and all of the credentials. Super cool. We've actually also scraped at least my profile. We haven't extracted all the data yet. We want to make sure that we can store that inside of Airtable. So now is kind of what I would do is I would come in here and I would look at this. And either the schema view is helpful, sometimes the JSON view is helpful. And basically you have a decision to make now on your end. Is kind of like, which of this information do you think is worth saving, right? I think we probably, like this input URL, like this is just my profile. That's not helpful. We definitely want the caption for sure. I think like it could be helpful to have the hashtags. Like why not? I think maybe saving more information the better. We'll definitely want the URL to the original video. I think comments count is important. I don't think we need the display or video URL. And I think some of these like likes count, view count, things like that, I think we're going to want to. And maybe this duration down here. So what I would do now is I would come back into Airtable and I would just go like this. And I'm going to start from scratch. And we can just call this like scraped content. Cool. And so we'll just go ahead and we'll name this profile. And we can say caption, which will be the video caption. I don't need the signee. I don't think I need status. I don't think I'm going to save any attachments or anything like this. I just kind of want to do analysis. So I'll just go ahead and delete these. That's fine. So I think we want the caption, the profile. I think I'm going to go ahead and insert right, and I'll do URL, which I'll just call URL. And when we come back in here, I think we want the caption, the URL, hashtags, likes, comments, and views. Yeah, let's do that. Profile caption, URL. And we can just come in here, long text, hashtags. I honestly don't even know if hashtags are important on Instagram anymore. So maybe like seeing this will actually be kind of helpful. Okay, cool. We can duplicate this. I'll shoot. I'll go insert right and I will go to number and we can do views, duplicate, likes, comments, and maybe one more for duration. Cool. And I think that's it. Was there anything else that we said we want to scrape views, likes, comments, duration? I think that's good to go. One other thing I'll actually store is I'll actually store this video ID. This could actually be helpful. Like, I actually think this might be helpful like down the line. I'll just go ahead and make this another number field and I'll call this video ID. I'm thinking that like if maybe like you want to actually use this video ID, there are other scrapers out there. I'm sure you could actually get like the transcripts from the video. And if you want to do like a deeper analysis on the actual transcripts, you'll probably need that video ID later. So you might as well just save it now. So we have it. So that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete all of this. So we don't need it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pin this data so we don't need to run the scraper again. Just really great feature inside of N8N. We can just pin that data and I can come into here and I can go to Airtable. And what I can do is I can do create a record. And I have my Airtable base set up. I have videos on my channel, or there are other videos out there. If you don't know how to create your Airtable credential, you'd want to learn how to set that up. It's pretty straightforward. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and what did I call this? Instagram scraper. Instagram scraper. And in this case, we're going to choose the scraped content. Okay, great. So profile. I don't see yet. I'm just going to go ahead and do caption. And I will do URL. And hashtags. My guess is this hashtag is going to be in this array format. And I'm just going to type to JSON string here, which is going to make it in a format that Airtable likes, which we always want. I'm not going to need these comments. I don't think I'm going to need these images right now. I'll come into comment count here. I think I'll come into likes. I will grab the video play count, which seems to be a little bit different than the views, but that seems to be how that works. Music info, like maybe you want music, I'm not sure. And then the video duration, I will put here. I think this is in seconds. So great. And then the video ID must have been somewhere near the top is this ID here. So just for good measure in case we want it. So I think that's all those fields that are here. And I think, got it, is the owner username here. Looks like if I come into child post and I just want to grab the owner username and that'll go in the profile and that'll be me, which is great. Okay. Cool. So that's really cool. And if I just go ahead now, I can go ahead and click execute step. And if I come back over here, you can see we're actually starting to populate this database with all of that information, which is really, really great. I think this video ID here has like these weird millions. So I can go ahead and I can edit this. And this is just going to be, maybe I actually don't want any of these fields. I think maybe I'm going to just change this to like long text. And I think that'll be fine. Let's do convert. And that's fine. We'll address this in a second. Actually, since I already pinned the data, I can just do this again really quick. Not really a big deal. If I do this, just refresh those columns. I should be able to do this again. If I come in here, now we can see we have the video ID in like a normal format. So cool. So this like was great. This scraped like one profile. And we basically have the profile name. We have the caption, any of the hashtags used. Which is cool. It kind of pulled those out down here too, which is fine. Views, likes, comments, duration, video ID. This is great. I think what we figured out here is that we basically figured out how we can scrape profiles and extract the data, or at least one profile. And I think we now need to figure out how we can do this for multiple profiles. So I think the way that I would set this up is I think I would set this up just to run one at a time. So I'm just going to hit P to unpin that data, and I'm just going to scoot these over a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add an Airtable node here, and I'm just going to do search records. And we'll come in and we'll find that same base, and I'll just type in Instagram. Cool. And in this case, I'm actually going to want to use the competitors database, and we're just going to do return all. So let me see what happens if I do execute step. Now you can see we have basically these three items. And so what I think I'm going to want to do is I'm just going to want to do these one at a time rather than all at once. I think that's just going to kind of be maybe the easiest way to do it. I think there's a couple different options here. Maybe I'm not sure if it matters if, time wise. I don't think it changes the amount of credits that we use. Like there is a world where we can create this JSON with all of the different, with all of the different URLs down here. So we have multiple URLs down here, which I think we could do, but I think it's almost easier for us if we just go one at a time. And I'm not super concerned about this. This is the type of thing that you could run on a schedule. And basically like you could wake up every morning with like new information. And so like if this is running while you're sleeping, I don't think it matters. And I actually don't think it's going to change the amount of time. Anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this, click this play button just to run the loop so we have access to that data. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to change this to expression. And if I open this up, just so you can see it a little bit better, I'm basically just going to take this slash and I'm just going to delete it. And I'm just going to pull in the name from the loop node before. So now you can see that this is dynamic. And basically this is the profile that we're scraping. And again, we're just searching 3 records right now. But what's going to happen is that basically we're going to scrape the profiles. We're going to create the records in Airtable. And then I'm just going to connect this back up. So that basically it's going to, just loop back over each record one at a time. Cool. So I'll go ahead and I'll quick save that. And let me just run this through and let me come in here. I'll delete all the records just so there's no confusion. And I'm just going to come in here and let's run this through one at a time or let's just run this through once from the beginning just to kind of see, that we're actually able to scrape multiple profiles in one go. So I'm going to let this run for a bit and then I'll come back and show you what happened. Cool. So that finished scraping. That took 2 minutes maybe. If you come into the scraper node here, you can basically see we have 3 different runs, one for me, one for Chase up here, and then one for Nick. And then likewise, if we come into the database here, we can see all the profiles, like the 3 different kind of scraped contents, because we just set the results to 3, and then all the information about, the performance for the videos. So this is a really great start. I think we can for sure check off this part now. So the next thing that we want to do is I want to show you how you can actually use ChatGPT to design an agent prompt for itself in order to generate new ideas. And I think there's a couple different ways to do this. Like, I think you could actually look at all of the content that's in here and come up with new ideas. But I actually think because if you look at this, I actually think the captions on Instagram are kind of robust enough and have enough in them that we can actually use our AI agent to create new ideas per video, as opposed to looking at all of it. We can actually go one at a time because I actually think there's enough information to do that. So I have ChatGPT open. So I'm just going to come into ChatGPT and I'm just going to tell it basically exactly what I want it to do. I'm going to say, okay, I have a list of, actually, I'm not even going to say a list. I'm going to say I have an Instagram post, because this is going to go one at a time. An Instagram post and caption. I need to create a prompt for an AI agent. The agent's task is to analyze the caption, identify key themes, engaging topics, and high impact, high value moments, and generate a list of 5 new ideas for potential content, along with a brief description of, what that video might contain. And let's just see what this comes up with. I think this is probably pretty good. So let's see. Here's the prompt that ChatGPT came up with. It's really kind of brief and simple, which is, I think, exactly what we want for this. You're a content strategy AI. Analyze, provide an Instagram caption, identify the core themes, engaging topics, and any high impact or high value statements. Based on this analysis, generate 5 new content ideas that align with the original post. Each idea should include a clear attention-grabbing title or hook, a 1 to 2 sentence description of what the video would include or teach, focus on ideas likely to drive interest, spark conversation, or deliver practical value to the target audience. And so I think if you wanted, this is a really great opportunity for you to customize it to yourself. I think I want the new ideas to be custom to me. And basically this is where you would tell ChatGPT a little bit about yourself, right? I teach others, or I could say I teach small business owners and content creators and entrepreneurs how to use AI and automations to create more efficient processes, make money, scale their systems, get more engagement, build their personal brand, position themselves as an expert. So let's just see what this comes up with now. So basically kept a lot of the same, but then it just says here, you're a content strategy AI for a creator who does basically everything that I just do. And now it says, come up with new ideas. And it says all ideas should be practical, results focused, and likely to attract the creator's target audience. So I think this is a really solid prompt to go for. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to copy all of this. And if I come back in here, I think there's a couple different ways to do it. I think you could do this. I think we can actually just do this at the end of the run here, which I think is kind of cool. So let's just go ahead and do this. And I'll type in OpenAI. And I have a video on my channel if you need to know how to get your OpenAI key, your OpenAI API key. I'll just select my account here. I'll message a model. I've been liking GPT. That's right. I actually deleted my OpenAI API keys because I don't want people to take them. So I might as well show you how to do this. Just come up to platform.openai.com and log into. And once you're logged in, you can just come up to the settings and come down to API keys. And you're just going to go ahead and do create new secret key. And I'll just say N8N and I'll just say June 16th. and just go ahead and click create new secret key, and the new secret key will appear for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm just going to come in here and I'll do create new credential. I'll just paste in that API key. I'll say June 16. Go ahead and click save. Great, and credential successfully created. So now when I come back in here, I should be able to choose the model from the list. This is great. I'll do GPT-4o latest. That's fine. And now I have to come back in here and copy my prompt for the agent. Cool. And I like doing expressions, so I can just make it big so everybody can see. Do this. And I'll just say 1. It's going to copy properly. 2. Great. Okay, cool. And so basically what's going to happen now is actually I'm going to, cut that, and I want to add a system message down here because it should actually go in the system message. And for the prompt, I want to say, here's the video caption. And I'm just going to go ahead and I will drag in this caption here. And now basically you can see we actually have the full caption from the video along with the system prompt to generate new ideas. And I'll go ahead and click save. And I'm just going to go ahead and I can click execute step. And what's cool about this is we actually have these 9 items over here. And so it's actually going to go through and it should generate new ideas for us for each of the 9 items. And then at the end, we could actually update the Airtable records to include the new ideas for content. This will take a little bit of time, depending on how many items that you have. So you just have to be a little bit patient. So I'm going to cut and I'll come back once this is finished. In the meantime, I guess what we could do instead is I can just come over here and I can basically just add a column over here for a long text, and I could just say new ideas. Go ahead and create that field. So now we actually have a place to store everything. Okay, cool. So this finished, and you can see we actually have this really detailed kind of output here. Analysis of the Instagram caption. Here are the main themes. Here are some ideas for time-saving themes. Here are 5 new ideas for content. And this is just like kind of messy and hard to look at. And so I'm just going to come back into ChatGPT, and I'm just going to go ahead and I will copy this, and I'm just going to say, here's the output. It's too much and kind of messy. And maybe we'll say something like output the ideas in JSON format with the title, opening hook, and 1 to 2 sentence description for each of the 5 ideas. So this is basically the format that I want this to look at. And it's actually giving me the format, which is great, but I wanted you to update the prompt so the system is instructed to output in this format. So now it's going to actually update the prompt. Each idea must be returned in JSON format. Here's this. Okay, great. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to copy this as well. And if I come in here, I can actually just erase what's between these. And this is actually the format that we want to use. So I'm going to come in here. I'll copy this, come back over here. If I do output content as JSON, you must output in the following format. And let's just see if I missed anything. And I can actually just go ahead and replace this here too. Cool. Let me go ahead and click save. And I will execute this step one more time just to see what we get. And I will come back once that's finished. Cool. This is awesome. So this finished. This did take like 2, 3, 4 minutes to run. Actually took a little bit of time to run. I realized it's because we're creating 5 new ideas for 9 pieces of content. So it's like 45 ideas with the title, hook, description. So there's actually a lot of content that's being created. How to use Google Stitch to build UI for your business in minutes. No code, no design skills, no problem. Turn sketches into apps. Here's how. Why every content creator should know about this. So there's so many ideas for content right here, from idea to UI in 60 seconds. That's pretty cool. So there's some really cool ideas in here, which is really great. So there's a lot of good stuff here. I'm going to pin this data too, so we don't have to run this again. And I'm also going to pin the scrape data really quick. And I'm just going to go ahead here. And now what I can do is I should be able to search for Airtable, and I can come to update record. I can search Instagram, and I can do scraped content. And actually looking at this now, I actually think it's going to be beneficial for us. Instead of just new ideas, like I can say idea 1, and I think it's actually going to be helpful for us just to go duplicate idea 2, idea 3, idea 4, and idea 5. I think this is actually going to work out better for us. It's just going to be easier to read in the long run. So I'll go 2, come in here, go 3, go 4, and go 5. Unless you want to call it idea, copy, 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 that's on you. Great, and I'll just refresh this really quick. And now if I come in here, and let me just close this up really quick, and I can do loop over items, and I should be able to drag the idea to match here, which is great. And if I come in here and I just come down, the one thing you're going to want to do is you want to get rid of views, likes, comments, anything with a number field. I'm actually just going to get rid of everything just so to be safe. Sometimes with the number fields, it will automatically put a 0 in there for you. And so it'll overwrite what you have in there now, which is your actual data. And you just don't want it to do that. So, just delete the fields. It makes it easier. So I can just go ahead and do title for 1. And I can say title, hook, and description. And now I can just copy all this and I can just paste them in here. And I'll just do this so it's a little bit nicer. And I'll just turn these to expression fields really quick and I'll paste it in here. And I'll turn this to an expression and I'll paste it in here. And I'll do this and I will paste it in here. And I should just be able to come up here and just change these zeros because you don't want the same thing. We'll change that to 1, 1, and 1. This is just kind of the array number. So this is, you can see it here, content idea 0, and this is content ideas 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to change all of these here so that we have different ideas coming into every field. So I'll go 2, 2, 2. I will do 3, 3, 3. And this last one down here is going to be 4, 4, and 4. Cool. And we should be good to go. So if I click execute step, I should be able to pop into Airtable over here. And we can basically see all of these new ideas popping into the table, which is really, really great. And this actually did run the scraper again for us. So that's why we're seeing these duplicate records. And I think it's because I just made a second request. But so here we can see we basically have all these new ideas for content. We come into something that Nick made, free agent for Google. We already looked at that one. Let's look at a different one here. Templates to get automation templates. Want to make your business run smoother? Automation helps. Okay, here's the link to the original post. Here's the URL. Here are the hashtags, views, likes, comments, the duration of it. Here's the video ID. Okay, so this is really good to know. So this is like a key troubleshooting moment. This actually happens all the time with ChatGPT. And honestly, it's super, super frustrating. You can see here that for some reason, this video here is actually happened with like 2 of them, I think. Like it didn't put any data in for the title, hook, description. It left all of these fields blank. And I was trying to figure out why that happened. And basically here's what happens. You can see it here if I come into the table view of the output, or actually it's almost more helpful to look in here. If I come into this table view and I scroll down and I can scroll down here, you can see all of a sudden, all these fields went red. And the reason this is happening is if you look closely at the output from ChatGPT, even though I told it exactly what I wanted, what's happening is it's nesting title, hook, description in an array field called content ideas. And you can see it here, json.message.content.content_ideas and the title, which is great. It's working in this case, right? But if I come down here, it's actually nesting all of the title, hook, description in an array field called video ideas. So here it's looking for the term content ideas, but it's ChatGPT is outputting video ideas, even though I didn't tell it to do either of those things. So this is actually super frustrating. And things like this are really common with ChatGPT, is that the outputs actually tend to be unpredictable. And I bet like if you were to run the system yourself, there's probably going to be a time where it doesn't put everything in an array with like a little title. There's going to be times where it gives it a different name. And so what we have to do is this is one of the things I like about N8N is the code node. The easiest way to process this data and to kind of unify the formatting is to use the code node in N8N just to extract these things every single time. And so let's work a little bit with ChatGPT to do that, because we always want predictable results, because you don't want to have to go back into your database to be like, why isn't this working, to troubleshoot, to figure it out, etc. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click plus eventually. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to grab the output JSON. I'm going to say, here's the output for this. You can see the output format is inconsistent. Sometimes it's in like a content field or content array. Sometimes it's called video content, etc. We need to unify this. So I need JavaScript code for an N8N function. to extract the title, hook, and description from each item. This should run once for each item. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to paste in all that JavaScript so we can basically understand what's happening. And I want to say can we accommodate some edge cases? Can we accommodate edge cases in case the nested content changes? What if it's not in an array? I always want to look for title, description fields, just to make sure that because ChatGPT is honestly totally unpredictable. It may not call it one of these things. It could call it something totally different. We want to make sure we can account for that. Okay, so I don't know how to code. I don't know what this means. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll come back in here and I'll hit the plus and I'll type in code and I'm going to paste this in and I want to change this to run once for each item. This might work out the gate. There's a strong chance this doesn't work out the gate. Let's see what happens. So this is kind of going back through. It's creating new records for us, unfortunately. Okay, code doesn't return a single object. An array of objects is returned. And so what I do now is sometimes I'll just literally take a screenshot of this error and I will just go ahead and I will paste this into ChatGPT. And so anyone who is interested in AI and automation, and I know it's AI, I know it's automation, people expect things to work out the gate. I want to be able to run this once for each item. And oftentimes they don't. Oftentimes there's a lot of troubleshooting. I'd say troubleshooting is 90% of the job. If you start taking on clients, they're going to expect you to be able to solve their problems for them. And you will encounter stuff like this all the time and you will have to know how to fix it. So let's go ahead and let's try this code. Create a whole bunch of records in Airtable. That's fine. We can delete them later. Mostly just care about the code. Okay, so now you can see we still have 9 items: title, hook, description, title, hook, description, title, hook, description, which is great. And I think this is getting closer, but we should have 5. We should have 5 title, hook, descriptions for each, right? Okay, so we actually have 5 ideas, or they're not pairs, but trios of title, hook, description for each of the 9 items. And I'll just say correct. I want to make sure that it recognizes the format that I gave. Okay, so that's what it says it has. But if I look at this, it only says 9 items. And I feel like it should say, oh, maybe this is right, actually. So let's just go ahead and ask, is this correct? Right. Okay, cool. So I decided to come back. I was doing a little bit of troubleshooting. And basically, I had a little bit of back and forth with Claude. And basically, I just updated this code node. And I did this in kind of the best way possible after doing some testing. And basically, the idea is we have 9 different items coming out of this ChatGPT node. So it's 1 item for every post that we scrape. So it'll be depending on how many posts we scrape. And just like we did here with the profiles, we're actually going to loop over each of the 9 items. So each of the posts that we scraped, which is basically for each of the posts, we've generated 5 new content ideas. And then what we're doing is basically no matter what format ChatGPT is outputting, we're kind of using this code node to unify it to create a predictable format of title, hook, description. Everything is kind of nested inside of this items array. And so that way, now when we come into this Airtable node, we basically have JSON.items 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so now every time we actually have this really predictable format, so that when we come back into Airtable here, you basically have all 9 of the videos. So if you can go into any one of them, we have all the data. We basically have kind of 5 new ideas, a title, a hook, and a description for everything. And so we can come in here. Basically, we can check off a couple of things here. We have used ChatGPT to generate the prompt. We've built the idea generator. And the last thing for us to do here is just we want to make sure we can test this end to end. Especially if you're doing stuff with clients, you want to always test it from start to finish to make sure everything is working properly. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to delete all these selected records. I'm going to come back into here and I'm just going to go ahead. Let's see what happens if I use this little magic brush. Okay, cool. Cleaned it up a little bit. And so I'm just going to go ahead. I unpinned all of the data here and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click test workflow and I'm going to let this run. And basically we are grabbing all the records from Airtable, all of the channel names. We're looping over each of those names. We're sending this to Apify to scrape the profiles to get a certain number of reels that we want. We're creating a new record for every single reel that we scraped. And then we're going to use ChatGPT here. And I can just go ahead and name this idea generator. to generate 5 new ideas with a title, an opening hook if you want to use it, and a description of basically like what that video could be about. And then from there, we're looping over each one of those. We're kind of processing it with this code node to just kind of like clean the data. And we can just go ahead and name this too, clean data. And from there, we're basically using Airtable again, just to update the existing record with the new ideas. And we can just say update ideas. And so this is going to go ahead. It's scraping the last of the profiles. And then I'm just going to come back once this is done and we'll go look at the results. Cool. So this just finished. And basically, if we come in here, you can see we have all the profile data, all the captions, the URLs for the videos. And actually just one little last trick that I like to do, just because I think it's fun, is I actually like to turn this into a little button. And I could say video, and we can turn this in button. I like this. And we just say go to video. And if you come in here and type the brackets and you go to URL, do create field. And now basically you just have this nice little button that you can click and it'll actually open up the reel in your browser. So I think that's super helpful. And if you want, you can just go ahead and you can hide the URL so you don't have to look at it. And you can also always sort by like views or something like that. If you want to go ahead and sort this by number of views, and you can just see kind of which videos have the most views or the comments, likes, whatever. Go ahead and sort that. You can see the duration, the video ID, and then kind of any of these new ideas for new videos. Let's see, 3 mistakes to avoid when starting an AI-powered business. How I landed my first paying AI client in 7 days. From zero to income. Here's how I signed my first AI client in just 1 week. 5 time saving tools. So these are all really great ideas that you can use to kind of create your new content based off of what's working for other people. If you want to get access to the workflow that we're building today and any of my other resources, hop into the build room where I teach entrepreneurs how to go from zero to $5,000 a month using AI and automation. You get access to step-by-step tutorials, and some of my members are even selling these systems to their clients for $5,000 a piece. I'll leave a link in the description where you can check it out. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out this video up here where I show you how to automate all of your LinkedIn content. I'll see you over there.